All right, what's up, heavy hitters? So we got a special guest, Stan Efferding, in the house, the strongest bodybuilder of all times, right?
IFBB Pro bodybuilder.
IFBB
we got
Pro.
Larry Wheels out there. I got to be careful about how I identify myself.
Yeah, no, exactly. You have a 2,303 classic raw basically total. Damn. Insane, man. Before I even met Stan, I was already a big fan of him. You know, he's so shredded up and so strong. I looked up to that, and man, a beast. You know, in every lift, deadlift, squat, and bench, which a lot of people aren't always the strongest in bench when their bench and squat is so high. So, man, it's a pleasure to have him here. But today we got Big Joe in the house, and you guys have seen, I would say, over a course of time, Big Joe just getting shredded up, and a lot of people asked, how did he get shredded up, you know? And Stan didn't even know Big Joe, but I actually told kind of Stan his story, and we're here today to talk about it, man.
Yeah, we'll talk about the vertical diet. And just to keep all the bros honest, I brought science with me today. This is Damon McCune. He's the co-author of the vertical diet. He's a registered dietitian. He's also a PhD candidate in exercise physiology, and he was former head of the dietetic department at UNLV and a nutrition instructor there. And so he'll keep us honest and explain some things that we don't understand along the way. We want to make sure you get the right message. So I just found out about this myself. He told me, hey, my buddy, he lost 100 pounds in the vertical diet. And I'm like, hot damn, I need a testimonial at least.
Yeah, that's badass, man.
We flew down, we wanted to hear your story. So I definitely want to hear what you did. Talk to me about it.
I actually lost 110 pounds. I went down to 245.
Shit.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was less than a year.
So you were almost 360 pounds when you started a year ago, less than a year ago.
357 is what I weighed in.
Wow.
Damn, more than me.
Yeah, remember? I was 357 when I started
crazy.
that.
Yep.
And that
How
was,
did you do it?
Time frame was that in?
That was right after the LA Fit Expo. That was what, January 13th?
Yeah.
Or 14th?
Something like that, of this year.
Yeah, I started it a week after that, and by May 4th, when we did the grand opening for the shoe, it already was pretty shredded.
What made you decide to do the vertical diet? We'd never met before, and just, you know, probably from some of the marketing or something, what got you to do it?
We used to have an athlete on the team, and he was shredded, pretty big dude. I mean, you know, he was strong. So, and plus I was just heavy. I wasn't comfortable, so I thought, man, hey, if he's shredded and he's strong, I want to be that way. So, and I asked him, I was like, what do you do? And he told me to check you out, you know, the vertical.
Yeah, we worked together. We did his diet. We did some water cuts for competition. So I did have a chance.
I've never tried the water cut, but
you don't
No, but I did your diet. I followed it to a T for the first 4 months, and man, life-changing experience.
That's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that were different than typical diets? You said you were able to eat a host of things that you thought you might have had to exclude.
Well, it was crazy because like your diet, I had to force feed actually the last 2 meals. All the other diets, you're not eating anything. It's just like bird feeding, you know.
Right.
You know, you're counting nuts. You're eating salads and stuff. You're not eating red meat. You're not eating rice. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know,
fruit.
Fruits.
Dairy.
Yeah, dairy. None
salt.
of that. Yeah, especially salt.
You were like, this can't be real.
Oh, I was amazed when he told me what he was eating. So I said, man, I'm gonna try it. And like I said, I was eating meals all day long, and I was shredding weight.
Yeah. How'd you feel?
Excellent. Yeah.
That's the big thing. Most people fail, and we're quick to admit, we're not dogmatic about this, that all diets work when they're strictly adhered to. You just have to at some point maintain a calorie deficit. Challenge is most people go off of diets.
Yeah.
They fail because they get tired and they get hungry. And so, from my experience, from 30 years of dieting, I started out in 1986 at 158 pounds in my first bodybuilding show. And by 1995, I was over 300 pounds. I had worked really hard to gain weight. And during that time, I was bulking and cutting and bulking and cutting and competing in bodybuilding and competing in powerlifting. And I'd done just about every type of diet you could possibly imagine. And I did that throughout my career, all the way up until about 5 years ago. Getting up over 300 pounds, dropping all the way down to 225, 235, 245, depending on what weight I was trying to compete at. And what I found was that depending on what kind of foods I was eating, it would have a dramatic effect on when I was gaining weight, whether or not I was getting stronger or fatter, and when I was losing weight, whether or not I was getting a lot weaker and a lot smaller. And so what I tried to do was design the diet, and we've got lots of science behind it, so that you had more energy and you weren't as hungry.
Yeah.
And that was what you mentioned earlier, was two of the big things. You didn't lose an incredible amount of strength, which you would expect.
Yeah.
And you weren't tired all the time.
Exactly.
And that's a big deal.
Yeah, because when most diets that I've ever done, I was burnt all day long.
Yeah.
You lose mad strength, and you never stay tight. I was always like soft when I lost weight.
Yeah, you mentioned that. You said that most people, when you see they lose a lot of weight, that they just look flat and soft and their muscles don't pop.
Yeah.
And Damon helped us with the science on that. Why don't you repeat that one for glycogen and water?
Yeah, so in order to stay full when you're dieting, especially, your cells are primarily made of water and also carbohydrate, and there's a bunch of other stuff in there too. But essentially, when you're taking in carbohydrate into a cell, you're also taking in water. So for every molecule of glucose that your cells are taking in, it's also taking in 3 molecules of water. So it's essentially just packing you full. So if you don't have those two together along with some sodium to take that all in, you're not going to have that same full look. You're not going to be as tight. You're not going to feel as good. So.
And you're not going to perform as well when you're lifting. You're going to be tired. And you're going to be weak. It's been my experience. I've done keto many, many times, and this isn't, an indictment of keto. I'm just saying that I've done less than 50 grams of carbs many times getting ready for bodybuilding shows, and been very weak and been very flat, like you talked about.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to experience that. I did it, as a compromise to compete, and later learned that wasn't the best way. I assumed it was because everybody was doing it. You got to cut out carbs if you want to lose weight, because there's the insulin monster, and you'll get fat if you spike your insulin, and it's just an absolute, I think, myth. And what we tried to do was provide an adequate amount of carbohydrates, particularly for people who are exercising. Now, if you're a sedentary individual with high blood sugars, then maybe you need to moderate your carbohydrates. But for people who are exercising like you were throughout, particularly hypertrophy training, you come here and lift, those carbs, and like Damon mentioned, the sodium.
Yeah.
It's not just carbs taking in water, but that's not water, it's fluid, and that fluid has a lot of sodium in it. And that sodium is something that most people eliminate when they go on diets. Sometimes just as a matter of eliminating fast food and eliminating packaged food, you kind of automatically eliminate sodium. We asked you to add it back in.
Yeah.
I have a whole chapter in the book on how important it is to get adequate sodium, and to salt meals to taste, and even to take sodium before and after training, because you're an active individual. And that's what we think is one of the key elements to providing you energy, so you felt better throughout the diet.
Right. And you earn your carbs.
Oh, yeah.
We're not just telling people to pound down a bunch of carbs and everything like Stan said. If you're sitting there in the chair all day playing Call of Duty, you don't need to be sucking down a bunch of Gatorade and stuff,
No.
that's not what we're saying. You're going to earn your carbohydrates, so.
Yeah. So training went good, and today you smashed some 500 pounds for reps. And you got
Try to keep up with you, beast. Beast it out today, man.
Yeah, we're 100 between us, between you and me. We're 100 years old, and we did some heavy squats today. Yeah.
I had to throw that in.
So it doesn't get any easier, but you mentioned something else, that your joints felt better.
Oh yeah,
As a result.
100%. Yeah. I was hurting a lot being heavy. It was uncomfortable. And after I'd lost some weight, and I don't know, maybe it was the sodium that I was taking in.
Vitamin D we recommend.
Yeah, mandatory vitamin D.
Yep, those are pretty huge for joints.
Yeah.
Really helpful.
I
And
take
then
that
to have the
daily.
fluid,
Yeah.
the carbs and the water, to have the fluid in the joints to help soften those.
Mandatory gallon of water a day. You know. Yeah, but man, I'm telling you, eating the regimen you set out on that's the key right there.
Yeah.
Especially the way we train. We don't train, lightweight all the time. We're like beasting out with this guy around, and it's never a dull moment.
No. And we talked earlier in a different video, we'll share that the training stimulus is a huge component of this. And then you got to earn your carbs. If you start training lighter, or start doing a bunch of high rep, stuff, battle ropes and zipping around the gym, exercising instead of actually training, you'll lose a significant amount of muscle just because the stimulus isn't adequate to hold on to the muscle that you had earned previously.
Yeah.
And so we do, throughout the course of the diet, recommend a pretty savage training program, or at least something with enough intensity to maintain your lean body mass while you're losing weight.
We want you to have a purpose when you go to the gym.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly.
just go in and throw some things around and feel tired when you leave. We want you to have an actual purpose and go train.
Give us a day's meal so people can jump in. Did you do the Monster Mash?
Yeah, I did the Monster Mash
Monster
the
Mash.
first 4 months.
Yeah.
Of the deal, yeah.
And I know some people think it's burger and rice. but it's not just burger and rice. It's the monster mash because I trademarked that shit.
Yeah.
So it's different. What else did you have?
I did the egg thing, 10 eggs a day, 2 cups of rice, the chicken sausages, and the avocado, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
a
get
lot
some
of sodium.
potassium
Yeah.
and
And then that was pre-workout, and then post I would do the 2 cups of rice with the 16 ounces of red meat. Yeah, and then 3 meals a day after that would be red meat, 8 ounces with a cup of rice, and then the last 2 meals would be a cup of rice with chicken and turkey.
Yeah. See,
Mm-hmm.
so one of the big things there is that we're real careful about not over-restricting, particularly the kinds of proteins that give you the biggest bang for your buck, which we believe is red meat. The iron and the B12 and the zinc and the selenium, all the stuff that men need in particular, and women even more so. Because when they pull out red meat and they start getting iron deficient and they get anemia and then maybe even amenorrhea, it's a whole other conversation. But we're really big proponents of getting the red meat in. We think and then the eggs as well, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
The choline is really important in eggs. It's huge. There's been plenty of studies showing how beneficial they are for hypertrophy, for strength, for liver health, the choline in particular.
Insulin resistance.
Insulin resistance, yeah, all of those things. So people would think they'd have to cut out whole eggs. And typically in the diet industry, they'd go to egg whites, or they'd do chicken breast and cut out red meat. They wouldn't eat any fruit, and they start losing energy again.
Yeah. At night, for the first 4 months, I was on just chicken and turkey with egg whites. I didn't do no rice until I started to try to bulk again. Then I started doing the cups of rice at night.
Yeah.
But yeah, that just that was a little much there.
Yeah.
It puts it on you a little fast.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Well, that's great to hear. 100 pounds lost. Obviously, your health is much improved. You talked earlier about your energy levels are through the roof now.
Through the roof. Yeah, I feel great. Life changer, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
That's good to hear.
That was awesome.
Badass.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks to your
I
audience.
appreciate you
Hopefully
guys.
you guys can get the same results. DM me at Stan Efferding.
Yeah.
Is my Instagram. StanEfferding.com is my website. The Vertical Diet is an ebook that's available there for you. There's also videos all over the internet. I've got over 3 million views on my Iceland video with Hafthor, where I talk about the vertical diet. It's over 2 hours long. I go into it in depth. Obviously the ebook's available, but if you want the information, it's out there. You can certainly get it. I have multiple Rhinos rants, which of course cover a ton of the information as well. So
It's an interactive ebook also. So the 3.0, we have some clickable components in there, so you can actually go find some of the resources we've used for the information as well. So.
yep, grocery lists, quick start guide, sample menus. We do a whole host of things in there. So whatever you decide, thanks for putting me in touch with your audience.
No,
Friend.
hell yeah. No, I mean, I'm inspired by it, and I definitely want to give it a shot too.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
another video, we'll talk to.
I don't know about 100 pounds though. Maybe like 50 or so,
It was that 10-minute cardio after the last meal.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't do that.
Yeah, and that's all the
What about the
cardio I'm
butter?
asking for. 10
Yeah.
minutes, that's it. You won't get any
Hell
more
yeah.
from me. Thanks.
Cool. No, appreciate it, Stan. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, yeah.
Have a great day.